wondering if they can put this in my house. This is a great living room, isn't it? So it's a pleasure to welcome you all here this morning. As president of Georgia State, it's just our pleasure, our privilege to have the Hunter Conference and all of you basically on our campus. So it's hard to move around this part of downtown and not see our 52,000 students, 12 schools and colleges. We have over 8,000 employees. And if that's not enough, if you roam around the metropolitan area, we have 6 total campuses with other 5 campuses around the perimeter. So we're just delighted to kind of be a part of this energy and to be here today. So I'm joined today with our Dean of the Robinson College of Business, Dean Rich Phillips. And our long-term director of our Cecil B. Day School of Hospitality. She was with me a second ago, but Debbie Cannon this year. So it's just a privilege to introduce you to the annual Bharat Shah Leadership Speaker Series. This series follows Dr. Shah's inspiration to actually have a conversation with some of today's leaders to talk more about kind of what their journey's been, what's been their, how they've kind of gotten where they're going, their persistence, and how they've actually really expanded their journey to kind of achieve in the industry that we all love today. So his vision really has shared some of the more intimate and diverse personal journeys of iconic leaders and their stories of struggle. So this series has, in addition to being inspiration to grown-ups like me in some regards, our students take this as one of the really highlights of the year. So Mit Shah, CEO of Noble Investment Group and Bharat's son, has been doing this. This is my 3rd time attending, but he brings these speakers to the living room and give them the opportunity to share their story. I think he does a fantastic job of bringing out the real stories. Historically, we've had speakers Mark Hablamazian, CEO of Hyatt, Tom Baltimore, Chairman and CEO of Park Hotels and Resorts, Chris Nassetta, CEO of Hilton, Vince Carter and Grant Hill, NBA, NCAA basketball legends, Sarah Blakely, founder of executive chairman of Spanx, Jesse Itzler, New York Times bestselling author and entrepreneur, Jeff Bellotti, CEO of Wyndham, Leslie Hale, president and CEO of RLJ Lodging and Trust, and the late Mark Elliott and Arnie Sorensen. So if you think about the lineup, that's an all-star lineup. So we're joined today with obviously Dr. Shah here, and Mrs. Shah are also in the audience, so let's recognize them as well. And I would like to thank also for joining Mit, his wife, Resma. So today, our speakers, we're excited to have Jim Risoleo here. He is joined with his wife, Pam. Thanks for being here. As CEO of the Host Hotels and Resorts, he just joins, as I've mentioned, just an incredible lineup. Since assuming the role of CEO in 2017, he has driven Host to the forefront of global hospitality, solidifying his position as the world's largest lodging REIT. With more than 35 years of finance and real estate expertise, including key roles at Interstate Hotels Corporation, Westinghouse Electric Corporation, Jim has consistently demonstrated the vision, perseverance, and leadership that Bharat Shah Leadership Speaker Series celebrates. So with that, I think I'm looking at my clock. I've got a whole minute. So I'm just going to start there and say, please join me in welcoming both Mit and Jim to the stage.
We forget, and is that threat today, is when we're together, too often we're not really together.
You know, one of the sort of great lessons for young people, I'd say, is all these great friendships that you have, and it's easier in your day and age, keep up with them. Like they are immensely important, and if you invest in them, they can really provide just an incredible foundation for you to be happy in life, in your personal life, but also to be happy in your career.
My faith and my family, and it sounds cliche, but it is 100% true. I mean, you know, we get up in the morning and You know, our kids are scattered now, and we're scattered half the time. I'm traveling. And so at 8 o'clock every morning, we have a quick family call.
Sort of the secret sauce for life is perseverance, because bad things are going to happen, setbacks are going to occur.
Position as a parent has on your kids. And lucky for me, my oldest daughter, who's in the middle there, is my life coach. Sorry.
It doesn't matter where you start, right? It all matters about what you put in it to get out and where that would lead you to. And that work ethic and perseverance and commitment and not being afraid to fail.
My dad, growing up, used to encourage me to fail. And he would sit at the dinner table and ask my brother and me what we had failed at that week. And if we didn't have something to tell him, he would actually be disappointed. And so I remember coming home from school and saying, Dad, I tried out for this and I was horrible. And he'd go, way to go, and high-five me. And it was very confusing to my brother and me at the time, you can imagine. But I think what he was doing was redefining failure for us. Failure became not about the outcome, but about not trying.
Back on was always played in my mind. Have a plan B. Yes, plan A. Some people say, oh yeah, I don't have a plan B because plan A is going to always work out. We didn't know a pandemic was going to hit us, and some of us might not have had a plan B, and what did? We panicked. But I had something to fall back on.
But ultimately, what we love the most, being parents and helping our children grow, helping them nurture them and their talents, building them up, being engaged. Sometimes, you know, you got to metaphorically spank them on the butt. But that's, to me, that's the measure of success. What kind of people your children turn out to be.
And I give the credit to my mother that said, go away, get out of your comfort zone. You grow in the dark places.
My dad was an inventor. He owned a plumbing supply house, and he was an inventor. And he invented something called random acts of kindness before it was a thing. And my dad is the perfect example of how simple can be extraordinary.
How I show up as a human being really matters in their lives and will matter to others that they come into contact with.
It's never been about how much money you make or how much stature you have, but it's a question of, okay, what kind of life are you leading?
I've never had a chance to talk about my dad. He's the youngest guy in the oldest photo out there. That's my grandfather Ernesto and my grandmother Beatriz Santi, who never learned to speak English. My grandfather died in a coal mine collapse when my dad was 4 years old. And my dad was raised in an orphanage and had a wonderful life. He worked his way through college with a football scholarship. I'm spastically uncoordinated and have never played football, but he was an athlete, and he met that beautiful woman next to him there. That's my mother, who they were both grad students at Johns Hopkins University, and went on a remarkable life. He spent most of his life in the philanthropic community. He was the director of the Boston Permanent Charity Fund, and my sisters and I had 3 little sisters, had a chance to grow up watching my dad give back to the community in Boston, Massachusetts. He just a remarkable guy. He died of a heart attack on an Eastern Airlines shuttle when he was 54 years old, and I've always said to myself, boy, if I could live past 54, I'm blessed. I'm a lucky man, and I feel very lucky today that I've been able to do that. And yeah, I wish nothing hit me more today than emotionally sitting with your dad, realizing the importance of our fathers and their impact on all of us.
When you think about when your life here has been completed, and you see Bon Papa and God, what do you think they are going to say to you about the life that you have lived?
I think I'm sure they are looking at me and looking at all our family, and at least I would hear from my mom that I still love you, son. My father would say, he says, I'm proud of you, that you have followed the principles of how to continue, how to maintain family unity, keep everybody happy, and sacrifice your utmost. Make sure that each and every member of your family is happy and successful. And I'm just glad that he's watching over me and that I have made him happy. That's a good feeling.
And now, please welcome founder and CEO of Noble Investment Group, Mit Shah, and president and CEO of Host Hotels and Resorts, Jim Risoleo.
Jimmy, good morning, brother.
Good morning, Mitt.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled for you to be here and for us to have this conversation. It's been a wonderful journey together, being your friend, and I think where I'd like to go and start with is at the very beginning. You and I have always talked about everybody comes from somewhere. I think your somewhere has so many interesting aspects of the American dream. I'd love for you to share with our friends here just the journey that both your grandparents came on, and culminating and arriving to this country and life as you were growing up. You were a cute baby, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, that's just like, I didn't even know there was a toddler sweepstakes but help share kind of the where.
Well, I know I'm in for a real treat today because I have no idea what Mitt has put together, and I'm getting my first taste of it right now. So, both my grandfathers emigrated from Italy when they were very young. They came over, one from Sicily, my maternal grandfather, when he was, I think, 8 years old, and ended up at Ellis Island by himself with no relatives in the country and really no money in his pocket. And the same with my paternal grandfather who came over from Calabria. I think he was a little older. He might have been about 16 at the time. So it was really a journey. Back in the day in Pittsburgh, my paternal grandfather was a coal miner. He worked on the railroad. They lived in Avella, Pennsylvania, which is a coal mining town down by the West Virginia border. He married my grandmother, who I believe she was born in the United States. But I knew not only my grandparents, my great-grandparents on both sides growing up. And in those days, they didn't speak English. And one of my biggest regrets was that I never learned how to speak Italian because that wasn't cool back then. Everyone wanted the immigrants to be American. Different careers on both sides of the family. My maternal grandfather, Sam, ended up becoming a chef. And for those of you who know me and my passion about cooking in the kitchen, I clearly got it from him because he used to take me with him whenever he would be doing a banquet or be doing a flower show out of vegetables, which was kind of really cool. And, he opened a restaurant in one of the neighborhoods of Pittsburgh. And that led to my mom waitressing behind the counter. And my dad lived in the neighborhood, and he would became addicted to coconut cream pie because he went to the restaurant at least twice a week to have coconut cream pie and a cup of coffee so he could see my mom. And they ended up getting married at a relatively young age. I think my mom was 20 years old, and she's still with us today, and I'm blessed to have my birthday on her birthday, May 19th. It's right around the corner, and she will be 92, and I'm turning a big, well, I'm not going to talk about how old I'm going to be.
Make sure we can do the math, but it's
okay. It's okay. You can figure it out. So, that's how the journey began, really. Very, very tight families on both sides. Very, with grandparents and parents who worked very hard. I'm the first in the family to go to college, and it's just been an incredibly fascinating journey along the way.
And Jim, share your birthday with your mother, and named after your father.
Right.
Certainly a very lucky boy. Can you talk a little bit about your father, kind of just the time frame as you were growing up, and mom was at home, younger brother Bob, you had a sister,
Yep.
Kathy, as well that you lost when she was 5, and so certainly, I think, very formative to your upbringing. Can you talk a little bit about your kind of what was the career pathing of your father, and kind of the situation that you grew up in? Because I think that takes us to the next part of the story.
Yeah, for sure. My dad, served in the Korean War stateside. He did not go to Korea, and when he got out of the Army. He worked, really 2 or 3 jobs, a variety of different places. He tended bar for my grandfather. He ended up working as a warehouseman for a supermarket chain in Pittsburgh, and he worked there for a long time. And this was pre the days of the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, which for some of the younger folks in the audience, they may not know that the PBGC guarantees pensions of employees today if something should happen to the employer. Well, this particular employer was struck one time too many by the truck drivers union. And they decided that they were just going to pack up and move out of Pittsburgh. And when they did that, all the employees who had worked there for a career lost their pension. They had nothing. PBGC is a really good thing to protect our laborers in our communities today. So we went from, having a dad who was employed full-time as a warehouseman, worked really hard, to buying a bread route, which I worked on while I was in college, and then eventually getting a job at the County of Allegheny in the elections department. So that's kind of the trajectory of my dad, and he worked till he was 80 years old, literally, and passed away at the age of 90 in 2018. So along the way, Mitt mentioned my sister Kathy. She was born in 1963, and she had been diagnosed with a non-malignant brain tumor at the time. Medicine has evolved a lot since 1963, suffice it to say. She underwent a number of operations, and eventually it wasn't the tumor that got her, but it was a staph infection that killed her in the hospital. And that was really not only traumatic, but I would say transformational for the family, living through that. For that, not only that 5-year period of time was tough, but when you lose a child, and I haven't lost a child, thank God, but I've experienced what my parents went through, you're never the same. It just won't, it'll never change. She's always there. So it was very, very informative of how we grew up in many ways.
And so, you share this all the time. There's no straight lines. So we see a lot of not so straight lines over here. And Giant Eagle was the grocery chain that you worked all through high school, as well as through college. Let's take a step back to your senior year in high school. You're working at Giant Eagle. What was the plan? Like, if we think about it, this is March. So March of your senior year, just let's backtrack and you're in Pittsburgh, and what happens?
Well, I had a good relationship with our guidance counselor and Walt Banachek, and Walt said, "Jim, what are you going to do after high school?" I don't know, Walt, what do you think I should do? He said, "You ever think about going to college?" I said, "No, not really, but let's explore that." So I know Donna's here from Penn State, but I'm going to say it anyway. I got into 2 universities. I got into Penn State, not the main campus, McKeesport, and I got into Duquesne University. And I decided to go to Duquesne for a lot of reasons. I went to Duquesne. I lived at home for the first 2 years and commuted. Duquesne is a commuter school in the city of Pittsburgh. And after my second year, I managed to get an RA position, a resident assistant position in the dorms. And I moved into the dorms, and I still don't know to this day how I got an RA position when I never lived in the dorms, but it happened. And I moved into the dorms and lived there for my final 2 years in college. So I had a great time at Duquesne.
Yeah, and that led to, interesting, so that led to, by being an RA, you became student body president, and that allowed you to sit in with the board of trustees.
Yeah, I became president of student body.
Yeah, and so that led you down another path that wasn't a straight line, by having mentorship and having people around you that encourage you to go to law school. So
that was a little later.
A little bit later, right? So accounting major that didn't really want to be an accountant, and then a law degree that you didn't really want to be a lawyer. And so let's push forward through that time. You're still working at the grocery store?
Well, you can ask Pam.
Yeah.
I do all the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So how long did you work at the grocery store?
I worked in the grocery store I worked there for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Through college too.
Through college.
Yeah.
Through college.
Yeah. All right. And then obviously, Westinghouse is a little different. So you kind of pivoted from the law, from the grocery business, and so let's go to there. And because this is the start of the professional journey. So what happens to give you the opportunity, and think about that moment in time, from school, law school, and then to Westinghouse?
Well, it is really true that there are no straight lines in the world, and that is the advice that I give my kids all the time. You don't know where life's going to take you, so if there's an opportunity in front of you, take the opportunity. And you might be scared, you might think you're going to fail, but you're not going to know unless you try it. So it just seemed a serendipitous route. Being president of the student body at Duquesne got me a seat on the board of trustees, where I got to know the vice president of university relations. He had interned for our local congressman at the time, Bill Moorhead in Pittsburgh, and he said, "Hey, you know, I know you're a full-time student, and he knew I was going to law school, still working at Giant Eagle as well, but he said, would you like to interview for the intern job at the congressman's office? So I did. I love politics. I still love politics today. And I was hired as an intern for about 20 hours a week. And I got out of Duquesne with an accounting degree. And I started going to the Becker CPA review course. And I think I went to 2 sessions, and I realized I didn't really want to be an accountant. But I had a good, solid background in accounting. And the congressman ended up offering me a full-time job right out of college. So I went to work for the congressman, and I became very close with his chief of staff. He retired a couple years after I took the job, and we ran his son for his seat. His son lost. So everyone in the congressman's staff was looking for a new job, and I was being prodded by the chief of staff, who was an attorney, to go to law school. So I applied at Duquesne University, and I was accepted for the night law school program, which was 4 nights a week, roughly, and a lot of Saturdays and Sundays in the library. But I had to do it because there was no other way to support myself. So worked at the Treasury Department for a little while I was in law school, and then the unfortunate thing happened. Ronald Reagan was president, and he instituted a big reduction in force. So that led me to getting a job at Mellon Bank in the financial services group, in the leasing group, while I was finishing up my law degree. And I was basically after I went through the bank's credit training program, I was syndicating lease equity for clients of the bank who wanted lease financing. The bank didn't have a balance sheet, they didn't have a tax bill to do it, so we took the deals to other people. And this was for everything from railroad rolling stock to tractor trailers to private corporate aircraft. And my biggest client at the time was Westinghouse Financial Services, Westinghouse Credit Corporation. They had a big tax bill. Got to know the folks at Westinghouse really well, and graduated from law school, passed the bar exam, and I was interviewing with law firms in the city of Pittsburgh, and I got a phone call from Westinghouse, and they said, hey, you have any interest in coming over as a principal? So again, think about this: accounting, politics, law. Now I'm saying, do I really want to go back and be a first-year associate, after having done all these transactions over the last several years, or do I want to stay on the business side and be a principal? I took the path to go with Westinghouse, and I never practiced law per se. And I kept it a big secret from most people that I was even an attorney, because it was a massive advantage in the business world. So,
and you didn't expect to be there long, but you ended up being there quite a bit until they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did. In the leasing area, we did a lot of really interesting transactions, a lot of commercial aircraft deals and things of that nature. Started a project finance group up, financed cogeneration facilities and hydroelectric generating facilities. And then it was late 1988, and the country was just starting to feel the effects of the S&L crisis. We were going into a recession. And the CEO of Westinghouse asked me to go start a problem loan workout group up for the real estate portfolio, which I knew nothing about. And he promised it was going to be a 12 to 8 month assignment, 12 to 18 month assignment, and then I could do whatever else I wanted in the company. How do you say no to a CEO? So, okay, let's go figure this out. And I started a workout group up, and long story short, we ended up liquidating the entire portfolio. It was about $5 billion worth of real estate in various forms: loans, investments, JVs, you name it, and it was across all real estate types. It was hotels, it was apartment buildings, office buildings, retail malls, residential land development. So I got a really good taste of what can go wrong in a deal by taking all these transactions apart and understanding it. And that led us to December 31st of 1993.
12 to 18 months turned into 5 years.
Turned into 5 years.
Yeah.
Turned into 5 years.
And so from there, really the only other taste, you had a few hotels, but Interstate was based in Pittsburgh at the time.
Correct.
Yep. So that became the next opportunity.
That's right.
And then, so maybe let's pivot there. You know, you're there at Interstate. What are you doing, and how do you get to know this new company that got created called Host?
Yeah. Well, again, at Interstate had just entered into a joint venture with Blackstone. It was called Interstone, and it was a 75% Blackstone-funded venture, 25% Interstate-funded venture to buy hotels that became available as a result of the S&L crisis. That was part of my responsibility at Interstate. The other part was just business development. And business development at Interstate either involved selling a management contract straight up. Interstate at the time was the largest Marriott franchisee of full-service hotels. We had 35 full-service Marriotts. No one in the country was even close to that number of properties back then. Or, you know, acquiring hotels, but generally with, you know, a strong partner, because Interstate didn't have the balance sheet to acquire properties on their own, and they much preferred the management side of the business. You think I'd have learned something back then about being an owner versus a manager. But one of my clients was this new company called Host Marriott. This was in '94. Host Marriott was named as such in 1993 after Marriott International was spun out. And the goal of Host Marriott at the time was to grow the Marriott brand through ownership and management, whether it be management or franchise. So I took a couple deals to Host Marriott that I had sourced at Interstate, and I got to know the team there really well through these transactional opportunities. And lo and behold, in 1995, Terry Golden is named the new CEO of Host, and Chris Nassetta joined Host as the second in command at the time. And the folks who were there on the acquisition side, as well as the CFO and some other people, decided it was time for them to move on. So there was a big hole in their acquisition group, and I get a phone call asking me, this is in 1996, if I had any interest in coming to DC, to Bethesda, Maryland at the time, to interview for a role as a senior vice president of acquisitions. So I went, I listened, I met Chris, really liked the people who were there, loved the opportunity, and I took the job. Chris Nassetta was my hiring manager.
All right, so it takes us to 1996. Jim joins Host. And 99, this company ends up electing to become a real estate investment trust, and the largest U.S. real estate investment trust is born. And this young grocer turned accountant, turned lawyer, turned banker, turned hotelier, becomes chief investment officer. And then let's fast forward a little bit. We've got a significant amount of growth. Host now is included on the S&P 500, first lodging REIT, not only the largest, et cetera. and you start building a European business. Can we just touch a little bit on the European business and how you thought about that? Because I want to get to a part of that in just a moment.
Yeah, we had, kind of dipped our toe in the water from time to time. I did, just looking at investing opportunities in Europe. And it really didn't make a lot of sense to do one hotel deal or 2 hotels in Europe, just given the complexity of doing business outside of the U.S. as a U.S.-based real estate investment trust and everything that went with doing business in Europe. Statutory filings and tax issues and the need to do financing in the local currency. But in 2005, 2006 timeframe, we had negotiated to acquire a significant portfolio of hotels from Starwood Hotels and Resorts. And as part of that transaction, we included 6 properties that they owned in Europe, in Spain, in Italy, in London, and a couple other countries. And to effectuate that deal, we wanted to set up a joint venture so that we could, in essence, be a fund manager for the European platform. And we brought in GIC and APG. APG is the pension fund of the Netherlands. GIC is the sovereign wealth fund of Singapore. And it was a 3-way JV, and we were the managing partner, the sole general partner of the venture. And I staffed it with initially some folks from the host team in Bethesda. We opened an office in London because of, due to tax reasons, we had to have a presence in Amsterdam. So we opened up, in the Netherlands rather, so we opened up an office in Amsterdam as well. And, we were off and running. At one point in time, we owned 20 properties across Europe. The first fund was 520 million euros of equity. The second fund was 450 million euros of equity. The second fund was pari passu, 150 million each. And we got all that money invested along the way. And we had a great time doing it too. It was a lot of fun.
So, this journey leads to investment grade status, for the company. And it feels like professionally, again, all of these things are happening. I know that time we were spending a lot of time together. And on the personal side, while all this was going on, I think, from you were certainly in a situation whereby you weren't as fulfilled personally as you were professionally, but that changed in 2010. And so can we talk about what changed in 2010?
Well, I think she's somewhere in the audience. I met Pam in 2010, and no straight lines goes with second chances are really a good thing. And from 10 to 25 have been the happiest years of my life. So I not only got Pam, but I got 3 terrific kids as well. And we have a blended family of 5. I had 2 daughters, Kathy and Lauren. Pam had 3 children, Teddy and Christian, twins, and Elizabeth, the baby of the group. And we've just had so many incredible experiences. And you're really lucky when you can find the love of your life and have someone to really participate in the journey with you.
What I think is it's an interesting correlation. You got your law degree, but you never a lawyer. You happen to actually find the love of your life, who happens to be one of the most respected lawyers in America that was, the queen of Arizona, and that's where home was. And so, as this professional journey, Jim, was taking place, so too, was this incredible personal journey. So, as we go to 2012, you decided that you were going to choose you and Pam, and so you went to the team at Host and said that you're going to move to Arizona. Can you just talk about that moment, just how and the outcome of that moment?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, just anecdotally, Mitt is absolutely right about Pam's prowess as an attorney. What he didn't say is that she is a commercial litigator. And, when I told my friends that I was going to get married to Pam, they said, "Are you crazy? You're marrying a litigator?" And it's, let's just say we had some robust discussions, but all in the very most positive light. So yeah, 2012, Chief Investment Officer, European platform, and I think it was important to the leadership of Host at the time that their Chief Investment Officer be based in Bethesda in the home office, and it was kind of said to me, "Well, if you're not going to be in Bethesda, you can't be Chief Investment Officer." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. We'll figure something else out." It wasn't fair for me to ask Pam to move to Bethesda, and and Elizabeth at the time was just starting her high school days. It wasn't fair to uproot her either and move her to Bethesda. It was a lot easier for me to move to Arizona, and that's what I did. And after a while, we came to an agreement that I would continue to run the European platform from Phoenix. Think about that for a moment. I'm running the European platform from Phoenix, but not be Chief Investment Officer from Phoenix, which was fine. And it was an incredible time because I really had no responsibility in the U.S. at that point in time. But we had quarterly partners meetings, and we had them in the best cities in Europe. And Pam and I would travel to the partners meetings, and we got to see Europe for an extended period of time. And I had a lot of fun doing it.
So you're in Arizona, you're not Chief Investment Officer, you take a 50% pay cut, but you're the happiest that
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. I think that is an important, you continue to call it a second chance.
Yep.
And we all get to make decisions in our life about how do we define joy and what are we willing to do in order to have it. And so I think this is a very important part of the journey. You're running the European portfolio, and then all of a sudden, as time goes by and this is all taking place, something else happens. Dick Marriott, who has been the chair of Host since its inception, dear friend of yours, mentor, and continuing development, says, this is a moment in time in this company's journey where we need a leader that is going to allow this organization to continue to not only be the largest in the S&P 500, investment grade, et cetera, but to really have a transformational impact on the business. So you're hanging out in Phoenix, and you're still engaged. You're running the European business. You're mentoring this next generation of leaders that are at Host already as a part of it. Nate, Suraf, others that are there. You've got all these relationships. Then all of a sudden you get a call at the end of 2016. What's that? What happens on that call?
Well, there was one little step in between, Mitt, that happened in 2015, and that was my successor as chief investment officer left the company. And I got a phone call from the then CEO, Ed Walter, asking me if I would come back into the U.S. and pick up the business from Colorado to Hawaii. And I thought for about 5 seconds and said, sure, because I love the business. And I think it's really important. If you do what you love every day, it's not work. It's just fun. And, great relationships, great people. We can talk about that later. And I trained Nate Terrell, who was an assistant treasurer at the time, on the investment side. So Nate was going to run the East Coast, and I was going to run pretty much the rest of the country going forward. And then in December of 16, Dick called and said, we want you to be CEO. And I said, well, I have to think about that. And he can be a pretty persistent guy. So he called again an hour later. He said, would you make up your mind yet? And I said, Dick, I need a little bit of time to think about this. So, Pam and I used to take and still take, not as often, these long walks. And boy, she was prescient because over the years, she kept saying, you're going to be CEO of this company someday. I said, come on, Pam, you kidding me? I'm in Arizona. I'm not, no one's even thinking about me anymore. I'm off in Europe. So when I told her about it, she said, of course you're going to take the job. I said, but that's going to uproot our life. That means we have to move back to Bethesda, Maryland. That means that, I'm going to the office. And, and I didn't even know, frankly, all that was involved with being a CEO of a public company. But we took the job, and in January of 17, we moved back to Maryland, and we bought a condo in downtown Bethesda, and this was going to be a 3-year commitment, and we're in year 9.
At age 61, which is just a number, most people are thinking about something different than becoming, the CEO of, one of the largest real estate investment trusts on the planet, and certainly the largest in our space. But you made a different decision at that time, and your dad got to see it.
He did.
Dad got to see it.
Yeah.
And, going back to second chances here, and, thinking about kind of, the evolution today, I think tells a really important professional story. The people along the way that you've continued to support, mentor, inspire. That guy at the top, that's a picture of the Hotel Arts in Barcelona up top.
I remember it well.
Mark Elliott, and the like. You've had some fun along the way, and people that you have impacted and influenced, members of your team, and others. A lot of younger faces in some of those pictures that might exist today. But I think the part that is really special, Jim, is this family unit that you and Pam have together created, and the giving back to the community. You just just celebrated this incredible Heart Ball in Phoenix. But can you talk a little bit about how you think about where you came from? And Pam's from Iowa, so this kind of like Midwestern roots. And have you think about just and the means by which you came up with, and the not straight lines. And if you look at pictures like this, which are celebrating philanthropy, and in places, just what does that mean as you both think about your own lives and what it means to give back?
Yeah, I think it's a really important aspect of being a complete person in the community. And, Pam was chair of the Phoenix Heart Ball last year. I think it ended up being 880 guests at the Phoenician Resort. And with the help of a lot of people in this room, raised a record amount in excess of $3 million net to give back to the American Heart Association. She has been a fixture of philanthropy in the Phoenix area for 40 years, literally, that she's lived there. And we're very involved with the American Heart Association and the Fresh Start Women's Foundation, which gives women a second chance, whether they're single moms or victims of domestic abuse, and they're out there on their own, and they've never had to write a check or keep a checkbook, and they may not have had a job. Fresh Start, again, Pam was one of the founders of Fresh Start, and it's turned into a very robust organization that has an open door for any woman who is in need in the Phoenix area. So those are two of the very important charities that we're involved in and will continue to stay involved in.
So a little bit more about this family unit, and Jim, the sacrifices that everyone thinks about making, or I don't think that anybody views anything more important than family. We certainly went through that part of the journey, but talk a little bit before we get to this next slide that I want to put up here in just a second, about what has this changed as it relates to how you see life going forward. What has this allowed you to unlock relative to what you perhaps had not felt, seen, and as you think about milestone birthday this year, 2 weddings this year, grandchildren that are there, and then this. And this is you, and Pam, and these kids, and these grandkids, and your parents, and Pam's parents. And if you think about this, I want you to also think about what does this family picture look like when it's you and Pam at the top, and how you feel all of this is really representative of the life that you hope has mattered to all of these beautiful smiling faces.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It really is. These pictures, I think, epitomize the joy and the happiness that we both have for family. And as we see our grandchildren, the ones that we have growing up, and we're hopeful that we're going to have other grandkids along the way. As Mit said, we have 2 weddings. We have one in 2 weeks. Our daughter Elizabeth's getting married in Phoenix. And then May 16th, Christian is getting married in Nassau in the Bahamas. And that'll round it out. That'll be 5 for 5. And, it is, in many ways, one big Brady Bunch. And it's a really good thing because the kids all get along great. I wouldn't say that it was easy out of the box. Sometimes good things just aren't, but it's worked out really well. And these smiles aren't contrived. I mean, this is at least, I don't know how many Christmas cards are in here, Mit, but I know the last one for sure. But when we're together, we have a lot of fun. And again, I think I keep coming back to that word, fun, joy, so important in life. And I think that's really important to us. Everybody's special. And I think that's, I got that from Pam. I think that's how she has, she's raised the kids, that you're special. And, in our mind, everyone is special in their own way.
When your time here has come, and these beautiful smiles and faces talk about Jim, Dad, grandfather, what's the one thing that you hope that is always a part of that conversation.
How much I love them. 100%.
I think that is true today. It will be true tomorrow. It will be true forever. And Jim, you know, I know for all of us that know you, love you. It's because of your heart, your care, your grit, the fact that you always remain so unbelievably optimistic. It's your personal story. It's how you grew up. It is how you have found yourself in the positions that not only you deserve, but only happens when you're filled with real goodness and purpose. And so I'm grateful for you to be in your life and for you to be in my life. And I'm grateful that you took an opportunity to share this amazing story. No straight lines, right?
Wow.
And surround yourself with really good people, and quite honestly, to never give up, right?
I think that's right, Mitt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think we've known each other for at least 29, 30 years. And I remember the earliest days when you were just starting your business. And, you know, one of the beautiful things in my life today is we look for opportunities to do stuff together over many years. And for one reason or another, it didn't work out. Well, you know, about 3 years ago, it did work out. And I am just delighted to be a partner with you through Host and Noble. I think that, you know, the reason that's working so well can be seen on this stage today. Who you are and how you care for people and how you think about organizations and our relationship and our friendship. And I thank you for that very much. And I thank you for having me here today to let me share my journey with you and with everybody else. It was a very insightful and thoughtful hour for me. Thank you.
Jim, you're a very lucky boy, and you're a very lucky man. And please join me in thanking Jim Risoleo for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janelle Johnson. I'm a senior hospitality administrations major and real estate minor at Georgia State University. I also serve as president of our student chapter of the American Hotel and Lodging Association, and I'm also housekeeping coordinator at Hyatt Regency Atlanta.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tao Trung, and I am currently a senior hospitality major at Georgia State University. I'm currently the vice president of AHLA, and I'm also the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference intern.
On behalf of the Cecil B. Day School of Hospitality, we would love to present you this award, and thank you so much for your wonderful inspiration to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.